Shalom from Israel, I'm Ariel Ben Abraham. This week we're going to reflect on chapter 25 of the book of Psalms by King David. Verse 1st, in you, Lord my God, I put my trust. So David approaches God. In the verse 24 we were seeing a different approach. Basically in verse 24, David is approaching God, recognizing that He's our Creator, that everything belongs to Him, that He created the earth, everything. And then he starts his bonding, his conversation with God. He's talking about these prerequisites, these premises, these preconditions in order to bond with God. And this precondition is goodness. In other words, we cannot approach God with a negative attitude. It's impossible. It doesn't work that way. He doesn't blend with anything negative. We know that. The Torah is clear on that. He said many times, they call it abominations. It's like, I like things right, good, positive, loving, caring, respect, dignity, honor, goodness, life. Now David is, I trust you, God. It's like, if I don't trust that you created me, that you give me life, that I am your creation, that you love me because you sustain me, then there's nothing to approach here. So David is telling us, guys, pay attention, trust God. It's like trusting the air we breathe. It's easy, by the way. It's not difficult to trust God. It's not. Now, some of us will say, I really trust more money in my pocket than your words, or than the Psalms, or the Torah, or anything like that. Some people have that opinion. We're not going to argue about that. What we cannot argue is that trusting God is trusting the air itself that we breathe. Let's take a deep breath and experience this. God is sustaining me. So unconditionally, everybody's breathing here, good, bad, sick, happy, sad, crazy, intelligent, idiots, whatever. It's like God is sustaining us. So is there any way not to trust air? And we say, oh air, I don't trust you because if I breathe you, I may die, so therefore stay away from me. Excuse me. Sounds silly. Now, we're not saying that God is the air. No. He created the air in order for us to live. And He's renovating the air all the time. Even if we pollute it, the air is there. So it's pretty much unconditional to me. It's like you have to really be unconditional to give life regardless. It's like the air, it's for everybody, like the sun. Nobody can say, oh, the sun is only for me, or for this nation, or for this country. No, for these people. Everybody. The sun is not asking, okay, I don't gonna shine in this part of the world and we do this. No. It's completely unconditional, it's there. Every day. And we trust Him, by the way. We trust the sun. It's gonna be tomorrow at, depending on the time of the year, 6:04 in the morning, you lift up every morning. And then what did it come from? From where the sun comes. Who's putting the sun there? Who's putting the air? It's God. Therefore, there's no way that we cannot trust God. It's impossible. Now, we have problem trusting ourselves. That's a whole different issue here. So let's not play idiots with ourselves and with God. He's laughing at us at this moment. He's like, why these people are thinking that I'm responsible for the choices they make? No, we are responsible, God, for the choices. That's why you give us free will. Thank you. By the way, you stay there. No problem. We're not going to bother you. This is our business. Thank you. Go to your throne, stay there. Speaking with this analogical thing that we see in the Hebrew Bible. He's in a throne of glory and this kind of thing. So we have to trust the creator of our air, the sun, the water, the food we ingest. So there's no reason not to trust God. It's possible. But again, let's pay attention to our self-trust. Because every time that we're going to make a decision that we're not sure about, then we put it on God. And people say, you have to trust God that it's going to happen to you. I say, wow, it's interesting. So yeah, a choice that I have to make, I put it on God's responsibility. So if I don't get this job, it's God's fault. Because, God, I trusted you and, you didn't give me the job. I said, no. The guys who didn't give you the job is the owners of the company. And probably something wrong in your resume or your experience that is not good enough for them. So leave God alone. And then ask them, you say, why I didn't get the job? They will tell you. You say, what? We checked your record and we don't see that you are, prepared enough or you have the character traits or whatever. In order to fulfill, to fulfill this job, to do this job. So, when we're talking about trusting God, we're talking about that our life is secured as long as we have air. The rest is our responsibility. And there's food there out there. The rest, then we have to question the system we have in order to get food. Even the air. Sometimes we have to ask, please, could you put some ventilation here? We don't have air here enough. It's not good enough. It's too many people here and we don't see that there's any kind of ventilation. Would you please open a window? And then we manage that. But it's our responsibility. We cannot say, oh, there is no air here, God is bad, why we have to trust God. He gives us air, but we don't have air in this room. What's going on, God? Open the windows, bring more air. No, it's our responsibility. So our obligation is to trust God in everything that sustains our life and that gives us the well-being that we want, that we pursue. But it's up to us to get it. He gave it to us already. We have to look for it. Now we may say, oh, what about in this place with these terrorists? We have to just get out of there. Don't go with these people. Fight them. Make freedom prevail. Separate from the wicked. Be with the good. Fight wickedness. You have feel the threat of people trying to threaten your household, your life, your children, your family. You have to look for protection. You have to defend yourself at any cost. It's our obligation. So let's understand trusting God in a more profound way. We trust God, it's like let's trust goodness. We know that we can trust goodness. When someone is good to us, we trust this person. We know that. So we come from something abstract, physiological like air, food, to something concrete, that is goodness. Then we have to trust what is good. We have to trust love, people who are loving, are trustworthy. Because we know that something good comes from their love. It shows. So we trust that. It's good. We don't trust the opposite. It's evil. We see an evil person coming to us. We don't want to deal with them. You see the pure evil coming from them. Negative thinking, negative attitude, violent behavior. Then we have to stay away. I trust in you, God. I trust in your goodness, the air, food, everything that you provide to sustain your creation. The goodness that comes from your goodness. Then I hold on it. This is the way we have to approach this trust. Do not let me put to shame. In other words, God, I have the tendency to commit mistakes, make the wrong choices, fall, like being envious, coveting, lustful, this kind of thing. It's like, this is my shame. Why? Because it's my feel of lack. We have said that lack has to do with shame. We said a few weeks ago that when Adam was naked and found himself naked after eating the forbidden fruit, he was lacking something, was lacking clothes. Then he was in shame. So why are you hiding from you? No, because I'm naked. And who told you? I feel shame. So everything that we experience, an emotion or a feeling of lack, that we covet, that we lost, that we desire something that we don't have because we think, we feel, we believe, or it's a fact that we don't have it. That's our shame. So shame is not I'm bad, it's like I'm lacking. Other people have, I don't. It's like I'm ashamed. So that's what when we have all we need, not all we wanted, the basic needs covered, we don't have anything to be ashamed for. Although we have to work in something like cleaning or doing some kind of work that for some people is demeaning or whatever, which is a relative way to see it. Then we don't have to feel shame. We're pursuing a living. There is no shame. Absolutely not. And we're compensated, we're paid for the job we do anyways. So we're not forced or enslaved to do something that we don't like, or people say that it's not good to do. There's nothing, there's no shame. The shame is when we approach things with a sense of feeling or understanding or belief of lack. Then we have a problem. So David here is saying, hey, don't make me feel lack. Yes, you give me everything. I'm a king, I have a kingdom, but I still have enemies. I have my inner enemies also that can make me lose what I have. My kingdom, my peace, my people, the well-being of the kingdom. So that would be my shame. I mean, when there's something lacking in my kingdom, in my life, that would be my shame. I don't want to be there. So David is requesting a special blessing of higher consciousness to start approaching life in a way that is full, that he has everything, that he doesn't lack of anything. So he wouldn't be in shame. Do not let my enemies triumph over me. These are the enemies. The things that make us feel lack. Envy, coveting, lust, wrath, haughtiness, arrogance. Including what make it evident, our addictions, our obsessions, our attachments. Like we want more things that we think we lack, something we need. But again, let's make a clear difference between basic needs, roof, food, clothes, education, with the other needs that we create for ourselves. Oh, I need this cigarette, I need this other cigarette, I need this kind of thing that I like. I want this kind of person that I want to do this and that. But that's a whole different thing. Now, we're not saying don't have desires or, you cannot, if you want to have a car or a beautiful house. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about these things that make us feel dependent and addicted and obsessed unnecessarily. And that make us slaves of them. That we work every day of our life in order to fulfill these needs that we have created to ourselves. Are they really needs? Or just egos, fantasies, and illusions? Glamour, sophistication, social appearance, social status, you name it. And let's ask ourselves, is it, are those my idols that I serve every day? Or those are part of the goodness that make me free, that make me feel free, that make me feel happy, fulfilled, satisfied, zero lack. That's my freedom, our freedom, goodness. So, verse 3, no one who hopes in you, that's the hopes in you, will ever put to shame. But shame will come on those who are treacherous without cause. Same thing said in a more poetic, philosophical way. If we trust in goodness, if we trust in everything that fulfill our basic needs, love and be loved, by the way, is one of them. Not just having a roof, food. We're talking about love also. We're not in shame. We're not in lack. Again, let's try to understand this shame as lack. That's exactly the problem we have here. We explained that before, so keep it in mind. But shame will come to those who are treacherous without cause. Treacherous to whom? To goodness. It's like we leave goodness and we start doing other things, the bad things. Whatever they are. And then we have our shame. So we're betraying ourselves, treasures. We're betraying ourselves, our goodness, in order to do something that is not precisely good. You say, oh, my little fantasy over there. Be careful with those. You may lose something. Or you will become subservient of them. And this little fantasy that I have to do it again and again and again. At the expense of what? At the expense of whom? But again, this is a personal thing that we have to make our own inventories and find out. Verse 4, show me your ways, Lord. Some question that Moses, we mentioned that in the previous chapter 24 last week. He said, show me God, I want to see you, I want to see who you are. He said, we can't, it's impossible because I have no definition, I have no shape, you can't. However, I can show you my ways, said God to Moses. This is exactly what David is asking. It's interesting, David knows the Torah. Why is he asking the question again? I mean, he's supposed to know. But he's asking because he feels lack. He feels that he needs God. He needs a reminder. David nor anybody else in this world, this human consciousness is perfect. We know that. So we may forget. We forget every moment actually. And then we really lose our consciousness, our awareness, our knowledge, our maturity, our experience sometimes. Oh, this man with so much experience, look how he ended up that way. With a profession, intelligent, and this and that, knowledgeable. Happens to all of us. We make mistakes. Therefore we call God. So remind me your ways, guide me in your ways, bring me back to goodness. I can't. I get addicted to something negative. I cannot get out of that addiction. Free me. Deliver me from this. Show me your ways. Show me your goodness. Show me your love's ways and attributes. So I can walk and live by them and be happy and fulfilled and free and redeemed in them. That's the question. Show me the request. Show me your ways, Lord. Teach me your paths. God's ways and attributes. Verse 5, guide me in your truth. It's not my truth. It's not everyone else, this religion or the politics or whatever. Opinion, God's. It's your truth. Now what is the truth of God? because we know that the glory of God, the majesty of God, the face of God. Goodness, God's love. This is what we have to be shown. This is the way we walk in. And teach me. It's not enough to know the ways. It's like, yeah, I can learn the Torah. I can learn the basic principles and all the commandments. I can know them by heart. But you know what? Teach me. One thing is data, and the other thing is to really grasp, assimilate, integrate that data in our consciousness. It's a whole different thing. That's what we pray every day, by the way. It's like, how much awareness, how much knowledge am I assimilating, integrating this into my discernment, my feelings, my emotions, my daily life when I see something negative in front of me? Do I do that? We have to make our own self-evaluation. It's like, you know what? And talk, but at the moment, when the moment comes, that's what David is evoking here. It's like, teach me. It's like, when I learn 100%, there's nothing. I don't want to ask ever again. I learned. So in this case, we have to make a clear distinction in information, knowledge, versus wisdom in terms of something that we truly learned. Meaning, I don't want to do this ever again. I have been there. There's no way I will do it again. So that's the lesson learned. That's the teaching, the instruction learned. Then we will never go back there. The situations, we will never go back again. Really. There's some people the other day I found talking about the past like 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't want to sound in the wrong way. Don't misunderstand me. Like, I'm not perfect either, but I remember that I told this person, says, you know what, forget about that. It doesn't make sense. It's past. It doesn't influence anything in any way today. And I wouldn't let that happen. I wouldn't let that happen. Even if you bring that things from the past, it will never alter who I am now. I remember that I told this person, citizen, you haven't changed anything in 15 years, but you still have the grudge, you know. I remember what is causing you, but I don't make it a grudge on me. It's like, it's past. It was negative. It's in the past. I don't want to carry that elephant the rest of my life. I won't. Because some people are like that. We're not all the same, you know. Some people change, some people don't. What can we do about that? And then we follow our paths. This person goes in his path, I follow mine. And that's it. For you are my God, my Redeemer. You say, give me your truth and teach me, for you are God, my Redeemer. And my hope is in you all day long. David is trusting God. It's like, if I separate myself from goodness, I'm done. I'm done. So it's like, I have to be aware all the time. Please, it's impossible. For me, it's difficult. It's not impossible. It's possible, but it's very difficult to think about positive all the time and keep the focus. So it's like, my hope is in you to keep me having this focus. And everything negative comes, I take it positively and try to make any effort to turn it into something positive. If I can't, because it don't depend on me sometimes, I just back off and let it be. But I shouldn't let that affect. I mean, what David is saying is like losing hope in keeping goodness all the time with us in our consciousness. So we have to be vigilant and ask God for help. It's like keeping my awareness, my consciousness, my perception, my focus into something positive for my own sake, for my own goodness. Verse 6, remember, Lord, your great compassion and love. It's like, you created me. Be compassionate. You know that I have limitations that I have. issue that I have is understanding that I'm not the most clever person, and you know me, therefore be compassionate. It's like, you created me, you know who I am, you know what I'm capable of, you know what are my weaknesses. Give me a hand. You know me better than I'm your creation. I don't even know who I am. I'm still working on knowing why I behave and what I think, I do what I do. Most of us are like this. And we die like this, by the way. So then we ask God and said, please, be compassionate. It's like, put yourself next to me. Not in my place, you will never do that. I mean he knows we are His creation. It's like, you know, so please, have compassion on me. And love. It's like, your love will redeem me. I mean, if you love me, I feel this hand of you passing through my right side. What a relief is with me. So give me that sign every once in a while. When I'm in a negative situation, I feel this air on the right side. Then I'm free. I have nothing to fear. So no matter what, I know God is with me. I felt Him. He's there. His presence. The goodness is with me. It's love. For they are from old. It's like, it's part of you. So that your compassion and your loving kindness and truth and grace hasn't been there. It's like, it's part of you. They come from, it's like from old. It's like they don't have like 30,000 years or 500,000 years. It's always have been with you. So it's an interesting way that David put it. It's like, they're pretty old. Yeah, your love and your compassion is pretty old. It's like, at some point in your life, you had it and then they become old. No, you always have been that way, David. What happened? I'm not old, they're part of God. Read again the 13 principles of compassion. They're there. So, 7. Do not remember the sins of my youth and my rebellious ways. According to your love, remember me. Remember me, God, according to your love. For you, Lord, are good. This is the goodness we're talking about. David is making definitions of God, not for the sake of saying, okay, God is no. He is aware of the ways, means, and qualities, and attributes with which He relates to His creation and to us. So He's appealing to them. He's like, I lost my way, bring me back. Please, I beg you. I get into my own issues, my own fears, my own fantasies and illusions. I lost it. I lost the goodness. I lost the focus. Please bring me back. So He's asking. He said, do not remember the sins of my youth. Like, I make mistakes, I'm ignorant. I'm in a learning process. I will die learning. I don't want to be able to learn everything in 70 years. That was David's years, lifetime. So He's asking. This is so human. I mean, so it's like, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes and I still make them. It's interesting. About the last day of his life, people were afraid that he would make mistakes. I mean, when his sons, Solomon, there was issues because he was a previous son, who was claiming the kingdom. And Nathan the prophet and his wife Bathsheba, David's wife, they were concerned. Like, this old man is dying. Maybe he's going to make the wrong choice. She's like, nobody's perfect here. But the idea is to keep focus on the goodness and look what is good. It's like, okay, Solomon is going to be a better king, and that's the way it goes. They have to choose goodness. Just what is right to do. But again, we need this permanent awareness that we don't have. We ask God, that please give me this awareness. Redeem me. This is a true redemption. We're fully aware 24 hours, 7, all day, all the time. We pursue goodness. And goodness is our reference and our choice. So, according to your love, because you're good. So love and goodness are inherent, a part of the same qualities. As we call it God's love. Love's ways and attributes. They belong to the same realm, the same camp, the same team. Verse 8. Good and righteous is the Lord. Therefore he instructs sinners in his ways. So in other words, David is not asking, kill all the sinners. So, show the sinners your ways. So he's saying God shows the sinners the way for them to pursue goodness. So this is an important attribute of compassion, an attribute of redemption, an attribute of relief, an attribute of transformation of our consciousness. God is willing, he wants, David is telling us, and we know that from the Torah, that he wants to help us transform, shift our negative trends and traits in consciousness into positive trends and traits in consciousness. So he instructs the way for the wicked. This redemption here. We can stop living our wicked ways, our evil ways, and turn our consciousness into the path of goodness. Those are God's paths, by the way. So one day the wicked people will realize, why have I been doing all this evil? If goodness is much better, these people are having more fun than us. We are frustrated, angry, alone, depressed. It's like, we know that. Nothing evil comes to something good to us. We know that. If it's bad, it's going to be bad to us. It's nothing good about it. So, David is telling God at some point, when the wicked people decided to stop and make a choice, God said, hey, this is the way. He will show them. He said, this is better than that. Come on, just go to the other side. Why would you go that way? This way is better. Shiny, it's clean, sweet, it's happier. And then we return. It's called in Judaism teshuvah. This is called repentance for some people. It's like they return. It's repentance, to return to God's ways and attributes as a common bond with him, our creator. So the other ways is ego's fantasies and illusions, our own invention. So this is not about like another God that is bad. No. This is our choice, our own tendencies, far away from goodness. Verse 9, he guides the humble in what is right. And again, there's an ethical purpose here. Since you are the righteous God. It's like goodness has an ethical, we have to keep repeating this because one of the bases of Judaism. Goodness and love, there's a way to love and there's a way to do goodness in Judaism. We don't do goodness by doing harm to other people. It doesn't work that way. You have to be a universal good absolute. That's what is transcendent. Because it's absolute. It's not relative. It's not short. Love is full. Goodness is full. It's not little. No, it's complete. That's why it transcends the material world and our consciousness. The little things, the negative things that are temporary, they do not transcend. They will never transcend. The destiny is not to prevail. They always, at some point, they end. But not love, not goodness. It's always there. Why? Because it comes from the major goodness, the greater love of all, which is God's love. So from everything transcends. God is transcendent. Now you may say, but he also created wickedness and evil. So why that they do not transcend too? Look at the world. Have been evil all the time. You don't call transcendence. Generation after generation, everything is so bad. Evil. Transcend. Look at it. It never stops. Our choice. You say, yeah, but he created, no, he created all these negative things as references in our consciousness, not to be options, but references to choose goodness. Yeah, but why? In order for us to have free will. In order to choose, we need the two of them. But they were created goodness as the reference and the choice, and evil as a reference to do goodness, not as a choice. So the question is, why we make the choice to be wicked, and to be bad, and to be negative? This is something that we have to find out ourselves. And make our inventory and say, why am I this way? So I'm evil by nature, or what kind of evil influence I have, blah, blah, blah. Find out. Oh, when I was little, I have this, and then I have a sense of lack because I didn't want what I want now. I want to do it, even at the expense of everything or everybody. Then we have to examine what are our traumas, our lacks, and then work on them through goodness for the sake of goodness. And that would be our freedom from them. So there will be no addictions, no attachments, no false ideologies, no false beliefs, no false principles. Fine. So, he guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his way. So we have to be in goodness in order to bond with him. Then he will show us more goodness. That's the meaning of this. Verse 10, that was verse 9, verse 10 now comes. It says, all the ways of the Lord are loving and faithful. Faithful, talking about like part of it. It's like when you have God's love, you have everything. You don't have to distrust everything. That's faithful. It's like waking up in the morning, we give thanks. The first thing that we do in Judaism, when we open our eyes, to thank God for giving us the soul back to us. His loyalty, His fidelity is forever. It's like, you're faithful. It's like, how could God be faithful? It's like, we're supposed to be faithful. This is a human quality. Say, no. The air is an example. The sun. That's faithfulness, by the way. We have the faith that the air is here to breathe, to be breathed. But the sun is there. We know. Because the sun is loyal. It comes every morning. It comes. And we know man is loyal. The sun. So this is the faithfulness of God. This is there. So you don't have to say that God's love is temporary. Like one day it's going to, no. It's there. It's faithful to you. So, it's faithful toward those who keep the covenant, his covenant. I said the demands, probably it's not a right translation. It says keep the demands of his covenant. This is what the covenant implies. It's not like a demand. Now, what is the covenant with God? This bonding that we are talking about. We have a bond with God. That's a covenant. The covenant between Israel and God. We are bonding with him. We have an alliance, a union. And it's interesting because David is saying the introduction to this verse in the previous we say the humble. What is the humble? The humble is the one who is a vessel that is empty. That's the humble. Now you say, what is it's full? Full of what? That's the question. Full of himself. Full of what? His coveting, his greed, his lust, his attachments, his addiction, his obsessions, his whatever. So the vessel is full of something that is not necessarily God's ways and attributes. Then the humble has the empty vessel. For what? For God to fill it with his goodness, God's ways and attributes. Those are the tzaddikim, the saints, the righteous people. People who have in the vessel of their discernment, thought, mind, emotions, feelings, passions, and instincts, only goodness. So they empty these vessels like, everything that I'm going to do, even if it's instinctual and instinct, I will do it with goodness. I bless the food. I bless after I do a physiological need. Then we sanctify every level of consciousness. And then we are bonding with God. That's the pact, by the way. That's the covenant. This is not like the demands of the covenant. This is part of it. You have to be good in order to bond with goodness, and we have to keep, a commitment with goodness. It's not complicated. It's very simple. Then verse 11, for the sake of your name, the name of God. We have mentioned this in previous videos. What is the name of God? What is the face of God? What is the hand of God? The majesty of God? The glory of God? The radiance of God? It's God's love. God's ways and attributes. So we say hand, when we say face, when we say crown, when we say mantle, we're talking about attributes, God's attributes that are all encompassed by the goodness He is, as David says in his Psalms many times. Odu Hashem ki tov ki olam hasdo. We thank God because He's good. His loving kindness is eternal, is forever. Verse 11, we said, for the sake of your name, Lord, forgive my iniquity, because it is great. So David sins like us. He says, forgive my iniquities, forgive my inadequacies, forgive my transgressions, forgive my mistakes, forgive my wrong choices. I've been rebellious. I've been basically following my own idol of myself. And he recognizes that it's great. Why the iniquities of David are great? They're big, probably big sinners. Nathan told him, you can't build the temple because your hands are full of blood. Stained with blood. So we're not talking about a perfect person. However, it's a person who recognizes and reaches out to God, recognizes his mistakes, his transgressions, and reach up to God. Like, have compassion on me. Because what I have done is not little, it's great. Why is great? Because He separated me from you. I separated from you, God, because of my wrong choices. I chose with goodness all the time, then you will be with me. I will be with you all the time. It's interesting how humble David is. Most of us we don't recognize. Like, love me in spite of my sins. That's our attitude, most of us. You are so unconditional. You give me the air and the sun. Be also unconditional to my sins. Doesn't work that way. We know that. There's an ethical principle in love, especially God's love, not ours. But ours is relative. That's what we want to emulate, our love with God's love, in order to make it one. But they have to have the similar qualities and attributes. Otherwise, they will not blend. They will not bond. So, verse 12, who then are those who fear the Lord? Question. He will instruct them in the ways they should choose. So there's ways to transform our consciousness. Everything is not lost without sins. Some people say, okay, I sinned, I made a mistake, I blew it up, that's it, I'm bad, it's not going to be able that I'm not going to be able to, it's like I'm not going to be able to return. No. Pay attention to what is this. Who is the one who respects you, who revere you? God will instruct them in the ways they should choose. So we have to return. This Psalm 25 is about return. It's about repentance. It's about returning to God's ways and attributes. Returning to goodness. It's clear. Verse 13, they will spend their days in prosperity. Goodness attracts goodness. The result for goodness is goodness. The cause of goodness is goodness. The effect of goodness is goodness. And all the descendants will inherit the land. What land are we talking about here? The land of Israel. What is the land of Israel? The goodness in life. A life free of slavery, free of idols, free of egos, fantasies, and illusions. Only goodness prevails in this land. So we will inherit as long as we live for, by, towards goodness. For our own sake of goodness. 14. The Lord confides in those who fear him, who revere him, who respect him, or accept him. He makes his covenant known to them. Again, same thing said in different words. If we are putting goodness to lead every aspect and level of consciousness, then this is what we're going to have. Prosperity, and we're inheriting the land, the goodness. It will be our inheritance. It will be our outcome, our reward. And he makes his covenant known to them. That's the covenant. It's like, hey, this is the goodness that I was talking about, says God. Then we will know. And again, we have no idea what this goodness is. We have just references. Well, we see the air, the sun, nature, the things that we have in the material grasp, perception that we have. What about the spiritual, the invisible, the things that we cannot conceive? We still don't know what this goodness is about. We will know in the Messianic era. Then we will know. As the prophets say, when he will fully reveal his presence, it's like, the knowledge of him would be greater. But at this moment, it's evident that our knowledge of God is very, very limited. It's evident. We know that. We have the hope because we know that our God is undescribable. So we one day hope that we can get into that consciousness to start assimilating, understanding, knowing him. So, verse 15, my eyes are ever, always on the Lord, for only he will release my feet from the trap, from the snare. So David is saying, I realize that the only way that I keep this focus, the focus on this goodness is precisely to keep focus on it. Don't move my eyes out of it. For only he will release my feet from the snare. In other words, David is saying, if I pay attention, I don't want to fall in any trap. God will not let that happen. So the goodness that I am focusing on is going to free me from the negative or the opposite of goodness. Why? Because I will be in goodness all the time. There will be no traps for anything negative. That's what this is. 16. Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I'm lonely and afflicted. David is alone. David is basically experiencing the results, the outcome of his separation from God, of separation from goodness. He's afflicted. We are afflicted when we don't live in goodness and love, as was mentioned many times before. So he's asking God, be gracious to me, be compassionate. I don't deserve. I made a mistake, I made the wrong choice, I'm suffering now. Hey, it's my responsibility. But please be compassionate with me. Have compassion. And be gracious to me, because I'm lonely. I'm alone. It's like I'm separated. Loneliness has to do with separation. He feels separated. There's nobody with him. He's alone. But he's not talking about nobody. He's talking about God. He's separated from God. He feels lonely. So he's like, please rescue me. Be gracious to me. 17. Relieve the troubles of my heart and free me from my anguish. He wants to free himself from the negative trends and traits in consciousness and the outcome. Free me from that. 18. Look on my affliction and my distress and take away all my sins. It's like, clean my conscience for everything negative. In other words, see how bad it is. It's like, Remove that from me. 19. See how numerous are my enemies and how fiercely they hate me. It's like when we are trapped in an addiction, obsession, an attachment that we cannot, we are a slave of the, see, we mentioned this before. It's another way to see it. It's the same repetition. We cannot get out of there. So it's like our own addiction hate us because they suck in all our life source, our vitality, our peace, our well-being, our balance. They make us feel miserable, living in lacking. So this is the hate, the hatred. It's like our negative things and tendencies and traits that we have. The negative choices we make, they indeed hate us. They're not good to us. They hate me. Verse 20, guard my life and rescue me. Do not let me be put to shame. We're talking about that from the beginning. For I take refuge, shelter in you. That's verse 20. 21. May integrity, this is very important, may integrity and righteousness protect me. It's interesting. Since when integrity? Some people may ask, in what way integrity can protect a person? That's exactly. Integrity is when everything is integrated. We're complete. We're not lacking of anything. That's integrity. But from the ethical understanding of integrity, it's like I'm doing everything that is proper, correct, righteous. I'm doing goodness. That's my integrity. So my integrity and my righteousness, of course they protect me, because they keep me whole, they keep me complete. It makes perfect sense. See, we are protected by our values, by our principles, by our goodness, by our love. That's what protects us. Children know this very well. They know that being loved, being cared for, being guarded and protected, that's what they keeps their integrity. It's like they feel complete when they're protected and loved. It's exactly the same thought here. So we have to understand it that way. May integrity and righteousness protect me, because my hope, Lord, is in you. Because this integrity and this righteousness, which are God's qualities, God's traits, for us to learn and to live by, with, for, and towards, is our protection. It's our survival. It's our security of who we are. Because my hope, God, is in you. Stop hoping. I believe that everything comes from you. Therefore, give it to me, because everything good comes from you. My hope is in you, because I know that all this goodness comes from you. That's why I trust you from the beginning. Verse 1. Verse 22 and the final of this Psalm 25 of the book of Psalms by King David. Deliver Israel, O Lord, from all the troubles. This is very important for us Jews. Why? David is asking God, he's like, this is not me. It's Israel. Now, who is Israel? We're talking about 12 tribes. What are the 12 tribes? What do they represent? Potential, creative goodness in consciousness. In one different way, diverse ways, but all of them are intertwined in our consciousness to do goodness and to make goodness prevail. So David is saying, yeah, I am the king and the representative among the nation, in front of the nation of Israel. But hey, deliver Israel, free Israel from troubles. What are the troubles? Egos, fantasies, and illusions, idols, false gods, negative traits and trends in consciousness. Nobody's perfect. But David is saying, save your people, save the goodness in human consciousness, protected from trouble, protected from sin, from transgression, from wickedness, from evil, because we're good. So David is claiming Israel's essence and true identity. It's like, we are your people, we are your creation, you are your messengers, we're good. Therefore, protect our goodness from trouble, from everything different than goodness, ways, and attributes. Just keep us together in goodness, because that's who we are. And we want to remain and prevail like that forever. So, with these reflections, we end our analysis of Psalm 25 by King David. We read this psalm after the Vidui, the confession, Tahanun, which is a section of the Jewish prayer, which deals with our return to God and after recognizing our misdeeds, transgressions, sins, wrongdoings. So we read this verse in order to commit to God again, to return to goodness, and ask God to protect us in this path that we want willingly and lovingly committed to be, to have, and to do. So with this we finish our reflections on Psalm 25. We wish you, as usual, an abundantly blessed week. Shabbat Shalom, and until next time.